Hi, this is Amy Fowler. I serve as the Deputy Secretary for the State of Vermont Agency of Education. And this video is intended to help the public understand a report that we are preparing related to equal access to high quality educators for our students in Vermont. The report that we are writing is to meet a requirement from the United States Department of Education as part of their Title I funding. The deadline for submitting the report is June 1st of this year, and the plans must meet 6 requirements. First, the state is charged with identifying whether or not there are any equity gaps between our students who attend schools with high levels of poverty or schools with low levels of poverty based on free and reduced lunch, and schools with high minority populations and low minority populations. Second, we're charged with meeting with the public to get their ideas about these equity gaps and to understand the nature of the problem from their perspective. Having gathered that information, we then turn our attention at the agency to explaining the perceptions of why these equity gaps exist in the state. Once we've identified the reasons for the equity gaps, we'll then be writing a plan in order to close those equity gaps and eliminate them as best we can. Along with that, we'll be determining how we know if we're being successful in implementing our plan by establishing benchmarks and metrics. And then finally, the report asks that we describe how we will publicize the results of our action plan and the progress that we make moving along. In order to make this plan effective, we began back in December when we first learned of the requirement. We shared a variety of information through meetings, email, and local communication sources like the field memo. In January, we asked the public for participation on a survey about which data we should look at, and we also completed a data review of available sources. In March and April, we held regional meetings to gather public input and also published this particular video in order to get additional input. In April and May, we drafted a plan. We will be drafting a plan and then submit that to the field to gather their comments and information about whether or not the state has identified the correct directions to go. And then finally, in May and June, we'll be finalizing the plan and submitting a report to the United States Department of Education. The meetings that we held were located across the state. Our first 3 meetings were in the more northern parts of the state, Burlington, Swanton, and Orleans. We then came to the central part of the state in Barre, and then followed that up by traveling the southern part of the state in Bellows Falls, Rutland, and Bennington. And then again, this is an opportunity for people to give input. The next presentation video that you'll see is related to the data and what the data tells us about equity gaps in Vermont.